Okay, we're returning from executive session. Do we have a motion to exit executive session?
I make a motion we exit executive session.
And do we have a second?
I second.
Samantha? All those in favor? 5-0. Great, and welcome to everyone who's here. We called the meeting to order at 5:30, and then we've been in executive session to discuss a personnel matter, and now we're back into our regular meeting agenda. First item, any amendments to the agenda? Okay.
Several.
Yeah.
So there's an agenda that's updated with a number of different items because of some things that have occurred in the last 24 hours. So the first item that is adding the interlocal cooperation agreement with the town of Camden. That's one item. And then the secondly is the appointment or confirmation of the economic community planner and planning and community development director position. So I would ask that those get added to the agenda.
Okay, and then your memorandum related to the warrant article?
Yeah, I've revised that, and that's within the packet that's circulated.
Publicly available?
Yep.
Okay, great. So do we need to vote on those amendments to the agenda, or?
You should.
Okay.
Just in terms of, I would maybe suggest where they're on the new agenda where they land. So.
Okay.
Because I think the location probably matters, particularly to Camden.
Yeah, so where they're going to land is the Camden Police interlocal cooperation agreement between the Camden Police Department and the Rockport Police Department. We're going to put that right after this, so we'll get that first up and let our good officers get back out on, back at work. And then the second item was confirming the appointment of the new Director of Planning and Community Development, and we'll put that as our last of the rest of our action items that'll be later in the agenda. Okay, do we have a motion to approve?
Where's it gonna fall?
This,
No action.
yeah. Yeah, so that would be item D under action items, number 8, 8D. Do we have a motion to approve those amendments to the agenda?
So moved.
John, and a second?
I second.
Go ahead.
All those in favor? 5-0. Great. Okay, so the first item is the police interlocal cooperation agreement. Do you wanna-
So if I could have our Camden's chief and Rockport's interim acting chief come on up to the podium here, and Jody, you get to sit in the back, and I know you don't get often to sit in that spot, so I'll let you enjoy that back there. Just as a very, very brief bit of introduction of this, Chief Weaver, and welcome, congratulations on that appointment. Glad to have him part of the conversation as well. Our interim acting chief, James Greeley, and I obviously had a front row seat through a lot of the budget discussions that the board had with the budget committee through this process last spring, and really highlighting the need for cooperation and looking for partnerships. And obviously, everyone is eagerly and obviously looking at how the towns of Camden and Rockport work together and can support each other. And in that vein, two Belfast high school graduates in similar positions, Belfast Lions over here, working through how to shorthand, and we're able to find some common ground that helps both departments. And I think that's the trick. And we talk a lot about mutual aid and public safety. And the ability for one department to help when the other's in need. And I think in this agreement that we have on your agenda tonight is an opportunity to do just that. And it allows the strength of one. When one is ailing, the strength of the other department can aid the other. And it's an area that financially works, legally works, and I think logically works. I think it's something that the officers of both departments can benefit from. I think the towns can benefit from, our people, residents can benefit from, even our town managers. And I think this is a circumstance where there's been some real challenges in public safety and policing in the Mid-Coast, and I just applaud both of these two gentlemen for really working together and trying to find solutions to the difficult problems. So that's the overarching, but you guys can talk about really the details of how it will work and support your staffs and your departments.
Certainly, thanks for the opportunity. The agreement that we crafted, we tried to be sensitive to both what the police side needs and certainly to residents as well, and the taxpayers that are out there to get value for their money. So in crafting this, we appreciate the opportunity to do what we do and the support that we have from you all. And I think that this only makes us stronger, having both departments being able to cross those lines, so to speak, to help one another out. And I look forward to working with Chief Weaver in the future.
And so this agreement is an agreement that both towns would adopt. So tonight, the Rockport board will have a chance, and tomorrow, I get to run up north and sit in the John French room, and hopefully, maybe I get to sit in the back as well, Jody.
I might call you up.
But offer support for this, because this is how we start to get things done together. So I don't know, Alan, if you've got something you want to add.
Yeah, I mean, I've been employed in Camden for 23 years, and my whole career we've worked hand in hand with Rockport. Both departments have been so close over the years. I remember hanging out with Cooley on night shift back when I first started and learning the ropes, and doing everything back then. We'd make midnight runs down to the Samoset because they would, leave the door open for us because they knew there was nothing open at nighttime for us to have. So they would leave the door open and we could go down and get into the warming tray. Like we've always partnered with Rockport, and we just want to bring that back and make it as tight as ever. So that's what Interim Chief Greeley and I did when we first moved into these roles, was try to go back to, working hand in hand, and this is going to make it easier for our officers to cross over and back up Rockport. It's going to make it easier for Rockport officers to cross over and back up us, and it's going to make it easier for us to fill, vacancies that we have when we have shortfalls. We've both experienced massive shortfalls over the years. When Rockport was extremely short-staffed, we helped them. When we were extremely short-staffed, Rockport helped us. And rather than trying to call in mutual aid agreements, this agreement is going to help us do it easier. So thank you all.
Well, thank you both for your work on all of that, because I think this is really important to the town, and I know our residents are really supportive of Camden and Rockport working together. So I know that took a lot to come up with this agreement, but we appreciate it. John?
So I'm also a big fan of this, and I'm just kind of curious, like, why hadn't we done this before? And, it just makes too much sense. And what were the issues that you guys had to, without getting into too much into the weeds, was there a significant issue that was in the way that?
No, there were no issues before. Actually, former Chief Gagney started this process when he was the chief of both towns.
Yeah.
But now that we have separate chiefs, we're trying to, work this into a relationship. It's just going to be different because instead of having one chief between both towns, we came up with this agreement to go back to, basically it'll be the same agreement as we had having a single chief.
Okay.
So there was no real big problems. Both Camden officers want to do this. We've done it before. Both Rockport officers want to do this. Again, it opens up a larger pool for us to draw from when we have overtime to fill. When we just call on Camden officers to fill Camden overtime, you don't always, especially summer months or busy seasons when we have a lot of extra details going on. We have limited staffing now that we can call on Rockport officers to help fill Camden shifts. Rockport can call on Camden officers to help fill shifts. It'll make it that much easier.
Great.
So is this one officer that would cover both towns at the same time, or would be
In
adding
an
a shift?
emergency.
In emergency.
So, yeah, that's set up in there so that if we ever get to staffing levels where Rockport really needs somebody or we really need somebody like we did before, we can have one officer cover both towns if we need to. Or, in an emergency, if someone calls out sick last minute and everyone else is unavailable, we can we can make that happen where one officer can cover both towns if we need to.
If it's like a planned vacation, you could offer a shift up
Then I can put it out
someone.
to
Right.
Camden to say, do you
Yeah.
have an officer that'd be willing to fill
Gotcha.
some or all
Okay.
of these shifts? Yep.
Any further questions for,
I just want to thank you guys for being here and for opening yourselves up to this collaboration and continuing what Chief Gagné started. And as someone that grew up in Camden, you know, I always saw it as the police departments as the same myself as a young resident. And so I appreciate that you're continuing that.
Yeah.
And thank you both for keeping us safe. So
Yeah, thank you guys.
yeah, thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right. So do we have a motion to approve the interlocal police?
I move to approve the interlocal police collaboration agreement with the town of Camden as presented.
Second?
John, second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? 5-0. Great.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Judy.
Yep.
See you tomorrow.
Tomorrow night. Okay, next is public comment on non-agenda items. Do we have anyone who wants to?
Hi, Rick Mitchell, West Rockport. Good evening, everybody. I want to pick up where I left off last week, last month. Basically, I didn't mean to speak out of line. I want to apologize to the board for that. I just want to continue to commend you, Sam and John. Regionalization you guys were talking about. That's awesome. It's the same thing I was thinking of, and everybody else was thinking of. So really, I think that's great. I want to bring your attention, I want to go back and look at your video. Denise, I don't think you realized it, but while you was holding order in the meeting, and then after the order was held, you wanted to open up to the public. It was very contradictory. That's what brought my attention to what was going on. So I'll ask you to just go back and take a look. And again, if I was out of line, all I was doing was just complimenting Sam on what she was doing for regionalization. So I really think there's a lot to be said there. And I think John, I think you got a lot of great ideas. I think the board is 5 wide, not 1. So please, all of you guys, be listening to each other. Linda, you got a new spot on the board? You got more experience than anybody. Don't be bashful to speak up, okay? Thank you.
Thanks, Rick. Any other public comments on non-agenda items? Okay, John, town manager report, updates?
It's a busy summer, as always. We had a bit of thanks at the outset to the Rockport Garden Club. That's
See
a
Janet
group.
Murray, who is one of the
There you are,
co-chair
wonderful,
of the
okay.
Rockport.
Hiding behind the guy in front of you. There we.
Thank you.
Well, this was something that came up, and it's people wonder, why is Rockport a wonderful place, right? And it's touches that sometimes, how does that come to be? You know, it's like somebody drops off a bouquet of flowers at your front desk, or, you know, it's kind of these things that are wonderful pieces of what we are and who we are, and we don't know where they come about. And so it was really great to get a chance to talk about the role the Garden Club plays in that piece of Rockport that people appreciate, but maybe just don't know how to place it. And so, anyway, thank you for the entire club. I know I heard back from Lee Goss today, and who's been a big player in that. And this is a group that is such a part in the fabric of the town of Rockport. It goes without saying. It far predates my time around here and many others. And so just so much appreciation for their work. I sort of outlined it in this report, but I got some help, thanks Denise, to outline some of those areas. But it's, you know, there are special things about living in this town that, you know, we just easily take for granted. And you go into another place and you see those missing pieces, that people have such care for their place that they are from or that they live in, and want to make it just that much better. And it's those little pieces that add up into something really substantial. And so anyway, thank you to the Garden Club. Appreciative for all your work.
Thank you. Can I put in a little plug?
Always, if you want.
Come on up to the microphone.
Yeah, go for it.
Well, thank you for the recognition. I know there are members who have been doing plantings and waterings for many years. So it's
Absolutely.
really nice
The microphone.
to be recognized.
There you go.
Is
Beautiful.
that good? Okay, thank you. But I'll put in a plug. A week
Please
from
do.
this Thursday, on the 13th of August, at the Elks Club in Rockland, we are having our annual gala, which not only raises funds for town beautification, but also for scholarships for the kids that are graduating from, or even some alumni from the high school. So we would love it if you, there are some ads in the paper, there's links to buy tickets. So if any of you are so inclined to come, it's an auction, live auction, silent auction. Bruce Gamage is going to be the auctioneer, and we've got some great stuff that local merchants and kind folks have donated. So if you're inclined, thank you. Again, thank you for the
Thank you.
recognition. We appreciate it.
Well, adding to the train of trying to make Rockport beautiful, this is one piece that isn't looking so beautiful right now, but progress is being made, and that's Rockport Common. Anyone who's been in the middle of a construction project knows it's got to look a little rough before it looks pretty. And you know, we're very much at the ugly duckling phase of that project, but work is moving ahead very swiftly. Obviously, those of us who ran through those cedars at the elementary school back in the day, you know, it was a little bit of the tear kind of came down when they all got mowed down, and all those trees. There are 100 trees that will be planted there.
I was there before those cedars.
I remember when they were planted.
Well, they were fun to run. Anyway, it was a really. It was a little bit sad to see them go, but I think we all know that was sort of, it's sort of the caterpillar, you know, has to eventually get in the chrysalis and grow its wings, and that Rockport Common facility is going to be dynamic. Again, 100 new trees will be planted. There's going to be a live construction camera that I think someone in that room is going to help put up. Jeff, there we go. So people can follow the progress. Again, hopefully for substantial completion by November. So things got to move fast, and things will look not so pretty for a little bit, but it won't be long, and we'll be sitting at that stoplight saying, geez, isn't that beautiful? Isn't this great? We have this in Rockport, like so many things we're talking about that others do. So anyway, that is moving ahead. Very thankful to the Lester Family Foundation, the Friends of Rockport Common, working on that. We are working every week. We're meeting and discussing the progress of that project, and so it's I wouldn't say it's certainly a lift for all of us here to make sure that that's done well for the citizens of Rockport. I just want to, we did have the last day of our planner, Ryan Thomas, in the office. Ryan, his last day in the office was Friday, and had a nice little going away event for him. Ryan's had a big role in really moving us forward and setting some plans that have started us along the way. Ryan's on Zoom, so he's still working for us for quite a while. Hi, Ryan. But very appreciative of his time here. But we're going to keep him working for us even on a contract basis a little bit, even once his replacement comes online. But we will be talking about his replacement here later on in the agenda. Last thing I want to add, or a couple very quick things. The Harbor Pump Out Station's out of service, so working on getting that up to speed. I just signed a purchase order today about trying to get that work underway, so look for that. We have accepted the bid for the infill sewer project, which is that section of Route 1, which will serve not only Habitat for Humanity project, but that middle section of Route 1 that's been unserved by sewer, as well as a small extension on Union Street. I also want to mention the foreclosed properties, where we have sold our Mount Pleasant Street property, the 407 West. We're continuing to work with Maine DEP and the EPA to get that project resolved and sold. This was an error. 280 Rockland Street should not have been on this list. That was an error. That shouldn't have made it on. But we'll be going through our list of recently foreclosed properties, and we'll have a new list to tackle very soon. So, and then the last thing I want to mention, fiber. We have fiber contractors who've been around and about. Some of you may have seen the Axiom vans running around Rockport. That project continues to move ahead. It's been a little bit slowed thanks to some I think make-ready work on the poles that didn't go as smoothly as it wasn't as ready as they had hoped. But we're still expecting construction to begin in September and get that extension that I think a lot of people have been looking for. So, and that's not to say that's the end of fiber expansion in Rockport, but at least in terms of this draft, it is. There's room for part 2, part 3, part 4, but that talks about funding and a whole different level of conversation. So, a lot going on. Hi, John.
Any questions for John?
Yeah, I do. Actually, part of your report, John, mentions freedom FOIA requests. Those requests are public, right? That's public information?
Yeah, they are. And they're requests for information. Again, everything that the town does, by and large, is public documents and public records. The challenge, of course, is sometimes in trying to unwind what that is into what is shareable. There's certain payroll information, certainly privileged information, personnel matters that are not shareable. And then there's also technological issues in trying to deal with those as well. So I think yes, the information that's being requested is public, but sometimes the process to get there isn't very quick.
Well, I was just wondering if it would be, to be public. A lot of the freedom of information, the spirit of it is to be transparent.
Sure.
So when somebody requests information, being transparent about what they're requesting to give taxpayers and residents an idea of, what the burden is that's being placed on staff. I mean, I think that's fair to kind of, highlight that. And also, does it head off other freedom of, information requests to say, hey, somebody's already got that one covered, you don't need to, burden the staff with a redundant request?
Right. I think, this is the first time in 20 years of doing this that I've run into this level of.
Well, I've heard it's like a statewide.
It is.
Issue that every town is running into this. It's not just us.
It is, and I think the challenge is, and I've heard of, I've certainly talked with other managers who've been through those challenges as well, and they've found methods or policies internally to deal with those. And part of this is also sharpening our work and trying to make sure that all FOIA requests are ending up in one place as opposed to individual departments handling them themselves. Or, how do you deal with email? There's some real challenges about how to extract the email, who has that access. So there's technological problems that we run into. But I think as a policy, and I think it might make some good sense, is to create some policy for the town and how those things are addressed. Because you're right, if that's something that the town thinks that's a good way to sort of let everybody know, a page on the website with all the requests and what, I want to make sure that our town attorney looked at that. But I think that's a good thought.
I just want to point out, I don't know if this is the right place for this discussion, but with the demise of local media, when I started out in journalism, the kind of FOIA requests that are coming in are things that local papers would request. So I think citizens are having to do the job that local journalism used to do.
Absolutely.
And it is a pain, but it's kind of a symptom of the demise of local journalism.
Yeah.
And I'm really happy that there's a resurgence of that in our area, because I think it benefits everybody. So just in defense of FOIA, I think that's part of it. And I also think it's worth, once we kind of look at these FOIA requests, what in them could be public knowledge anyway,
Right.
so that a citizen doesn't have to ask for it. I think we might be
Sure.
too protective of information, and it's worth, maybe not spending too much time, but at the very least, just looking and saying, yeah, why did that have to be a FOIA? Could that not have just been
Right.
on the website? Because I think often we are hesitant to, once you let things out into the light, you realize, oh, it's not that big
Yeah.
of a deal. It's just holding us accountable, and
Right.
we have nothing to hide. And the more I'm in this process, the more I realize, it's a lot of good people doing good work, and to an extent, there are things that maybe could be. Just
Yeah.
not suggesting what, just saying
Right.
it's worth thinking
Well,
about.
and that might be why we would sort of discuss some sort of discuss this issue in a broader context. And
Well, I think Sam's got the right idea about, I was suggesting to go all the way, to publish the answer to the FOIA as well, and put an area, something on our website of,
recent FOIA
they
requests
could
and
download it if
responses.
they want. If you really want all that information and you got, a few days of time, you can wade through it, that kind of thing. And I agree about the demise of local media, so.
Although we have some very good local media.
We do, it's rising, but I do think that's a statewide and nationwide, I
Yeah.
think that's a big
And
problem.
it's hard to find the
It-
resources to
Yep.
do everything that
Yep.
journalism used to do. Good. Anything else for John?
That's it. That's all
Okay.
I've got.
Great. Thanks, John.
Thanks.
Nick?
I guess, was there a comment about the Warrenton project somewhere, John? That wasn't in your report.
Nope. Nope. In the last
I think
month.
you meant, yeah,
Last month, I had mentioned that
okay.
that project
on
was
hold.
delayed. Basically, our contractor
you
ran
have
out
it
of
in here
time.
as well.
Oh, I did put it in?
Yeah. Due to
Oh,
project
under- yeah, I'm
delays
sorry,
and the
right at the
contract-
end.
Under Public Works.
Yeah, so we were delayed because largely we lost the contractor. There were permits that we had to get right near the end. It wouldn't have taken very long, but, time's money. They needed to move on to someplace that was ready to go and ready to jump. So hoping that we'll be able to get them back for this fall. But all these contractors are so busy, and it's also the same contractor who's building the park. So there's only so much, Rockport can only get so much goodness from Farley Incorporated, so.
So we don't have a date yet to when
No.
it's going to be back on the schedule?
No, but, I think a lot of the strides, speaking of, sort of public outreach, strides we made in terms of how to reach out to the residents along there, I think are good steps. And I want to give a credit to our Public Works Department, who's done a really good job this summer of trying to get word out to road closures and impacts to residents. We've had a lot that have occurred, particularly on Meadow Street, South Street, a lot of through roads that people are used to traveling as a sort of that back. And they've done a really good job of trying to let people know ahead, hey, today we're going to be closed from this time to this time, avoid the really the rush times, and also try to avoid bus traffic. So a lot of credit to them. And again, if anybody wants to follow that, they have their own website, their own Facebook page, and Civic Ready is always there too.
Yeah, and always sign up for if you haven't yet signed up for Civic Alert,
Yep.
that's our way of notifying everyone. Okay. Next on our agenda is the consent agenda, and we have meeting minutes, the July 13, 2026 Select Board minutes, as well as the executive session minutes.
Denise, I realize do we want to put a motion on the consent agenda and then have some
You could have a motion
discussion?
to approve it.
Yeah. I move that we
Motion.
approve the well, wait a minute. Yes, I move to accept the consent agenda. I want to make sure Linda and Sam were at the meeting, so.
Yes, this was
Yes.
the first one with the
Yep,
whole,
okay.
the whole new board. Okay, so a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented,
Second?
and Kim, second.
I have an amendment or
Okay, so
correction.
discussion, so you had some, Linda, you found something that we should, go ahead.
Okay, under Select Board bylaws, I believe it is, under the minutes, It said Kim and I both made the motion. Maybe it's under the action item.
Yeah, let's see. There was a place where we had two people both
Make a
making the
motion.
motion to approve, to
And not a
approve,
second.
but not a second. So
Oh,
the two
yeah.
X's got under the same line.
Page 18.
And the bylaws, yep.
Yep,
Page
Okay.
18 on your PDF.
yeah.
And then I have similar, are you done, Linda?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. It's a little confusing the way the minutes are showing that, did we amend the bylaws, or did we approve them as presented? I thought we had a couple tweaks.
It was amended. Yeah, if
Yeah.
it wasn't, as presented wasn't crossed out.
Okay, so we could
Yeah.
fix that, and then, where did we land on public comment on agenda items? Didn't we have a discussion about that?
We did have a discussion. I went back and listened to that. We, 3 minutes.
Okay.
And do we have, John, the revised bylaw language from that?
Yeah, I
I'll
didn't see
find
it
it.
in here.
Yeah, I was hoping we'd. Would they already be posted as our bylaws? Would that change, or?
I'm not sure if they've been posted yet, but
Because what we had initially discussed was adding, or as, at the select board's option, we could extend the 3 minutes. We ended up adding something at the end of that sentence, of that paragraph. And I don't have my own notes from last month's meeting, but we made a decision, and it's in the videotape of what we agreed to.
So we are going to allow 3 minutes.
We're going to allow 3 minutes, and then the select board at its option can change that.
Yep, okay. And then there was a motion to, on the town manager's performance goals, to get some legal advice on that. Have we resolved that?
That was one John and I think that had to do with the written evaluation. When I went back,
Yeah.
it was about the written evaluation, which I think we did get what we needed to get on that.
Okay. So just a couple in there that we say we've suggested motion amend or present as presented, and it's not clear from the minutes which way well, I guess it is because we voted. Okay, underneath. Never mind. Okay.
Okay, so we've got
And we finalized the liaison list.
and we have finalized the liaison list, which maybe you'll pass out to us, John, if you could.
yep, I can
Yeah,
print
you
that
guys
out.
Can send that as well as the bylaws, so we all have current copies of what we've been doing.
Okay, thank you.
So then what we would have here is a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended to reflect the minute correction.
On the action item E.
Okay.
And the bylaws are updated
And
on the
the bylaws.
website.
Oh, they
Yeah.
are, good,
Yep.
okay.
Yep, the July 13th.
Oh, great.
Yep.
Good for us. Action item E. Okay. So Linda, you want to make that, you've sort of made the motion, but do you want to go ahead and make the motion to approve the consent agenda
As amended.
as amended with the correction to the July 13 minutes?
Sure. I move to approve the consent agenda as amended with a correction on the action item E, Select Board bylaws, to reflect Linda Greenlaw made the motion, I believe, and Kim Graffin made the second.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Kim, second. And all those in favor? And Linda, you're in favor as well?
Yes.
Okay. Great. Okay, next are action items. First is, I just want to jot this down. First is, we have an applicant for our regionalization task force, Joseph Moore. Do you want to come up, Joseph?
Come on
Yeah.
up, Joe.
I know, Joseph.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Hi.
You submitted an application. You want to tell us a little bit about yourself and your interest in the task force?
Joseph Moore, I live in 4 Scotts Road. I'm interested in the regionalization task force. I had the privilege of playing a part of establishing our EMS system here in town. I've been a public safety professional in the fire and EMS side for the last 30 years. I've seen regionalization work, I've seen it not work. If it's something that the town is moving forward with, in regards to working with other communities, as far as establishing services, growing services, I think I have a lot of experience to bring to that committee, and I was interested in participating.
Great. Any questions for Joe?
Joe, you've been in Rockport for the whole time?
No, not the whole time. I lived in Rockport from 2003 until 2018. I left and took a career fire chief job, left that and came back in 2021.
Oh, so you've been more than a consultant to EMS. You've been EMS.
Yes, I've
Okay.
had a lot of experience.
Okay.
Yeah, he knows what he's doing.
Okay. All right. Yeah, you're underselling yourself, Joe.
Yeah.
For once.
Thank you.
Oh,
It's not
clearly.
best behavior tonight.
I know.
Any other questions for Joe? Okay, well, thank you for coming, and thank you for applying.
Yeah, thank
I
you.
think we're
Thank you for the
excited about this
opportunity.
task force, and
I move to approve his committee application for the Regionalization Task Force with term ending June 2029.
great.
Nice second.
Samantha, second. All those in favor? 5-0. Welcome.
No,
And-
thank you.
And we should make a pitch, too, that we are looking for more members to join Joe on the task force. So please, if that's something you're interested in, you can submit an application. It's on the town website. Happy, any of us, I'm sure, are happy to talk to you more about that task force. But please consider that. We would welcome our community's participation in that. All right, next is the Small Business Development Agreement with the Rue Institute. And I think maybe this is a Ryan's item that Ryan's gonna,
In part, and then
Or
Barrett,
John.
yeah.
and I know Barrett's here.
Come on up, Barrett.
Yeah,
You
why
get-
don't you start?
You're here. I mean, he left, so Barrett, you get the first crack at this.
I'm right here.
He's here, he's here.
Ryan, feel free to go. No, actually, Barry, I think it'd be great if you, since you're there with the Economic Development Committee, if you could go ahead and speak on their behalf about this program, and then I can probably add in a couple other details.
Sure, that's great. So again, I'm Barrett Brown, a member of the Economic Development Committee. I'm also a business owner in Rockport. I own Cedarworks. And I mention that because it's relevant, because this is about the town being able to provide business support services. First of all, before I forget, as has already been said, I want to say thanks to Orion, not just for his work on this, but everything he's done over the last several years in support of the Economic Development Committee and everything else. And sad to see you go, but best wishes for the future. So one of the things the EDC wanted to do is identify ways that we can support local businesses. To that end, we did a survey of local businesses. It identified a bunch of things that everyone's aware of, the difficulty finding workers, housing. But one of the things was local businesses being interested in getting support, things like mentoring or other ways to help people learn how to grow their businesses. As a business owner, and not just in Rockport, this is not speaking of Rockport, but oftentimes you see towns not necessarily as facilitating your opportunities to grow your business. It's usually the place where you get to hear no a lot. That's frustrating. And whether that's just signage or whether that's expanding your footprint, et cetera. This is an opportunity for the town of Rockport to be able to answer the question, what are we doing to actually support businesses? Actively doing to help businesses grow in Rockport. So all of the materials for what this program is was in the package, so I'm not sure if you've had a chance to read it. I'm not going to go into enormous detail. But it's a program that's run by the Rue Institute. We're not the original. They've already done this in Yarmouth, South Berwick, a number of other towns, so it's already an established program. It's a program where they'll be able to serve 10 to 12 businesses from Rockport. Get them together for 8 two-hour sessions during which they're going to explore a lot of different things that will help them to grow their businesses. It's something that will then connect them with mentors. Obviously, this town is very fortunate in so many ways, and one of them is that we have so many people with broad experience who are willing to give back. And it's an opportunity for these businesses not to get just the skills that the Rue Institute is going to be able to provide for them. They are going to get to work together. Oftentimes that actually leads to business relationships between the participants in these groups. It leads to long-term relationships between these businesses and their mentors, so it lasts long beyond the length of this program. And then one of the other key things is they will go down to the Rue Institute during, I think, an opening session and possibly a closing session, and get introduced to all the different support services that that organization can provide to them, oftentimes at little to no cost. And these are things that most people, particularly a small business in a town like Rockport, wouldn't know where to get it, wouldn't know that it existed, and certainly wouldn't be able to get it at the kind of pricing or even free that the Rue Institute would be able to provide. The program cost is $40,000. When I saw that, I honestly thought, as a standalone business, I think a lot of companies that might be applying for this would be a lot of money. It'd be very difficult for them to come up with it. But as a standalone business as CedarWorks, I honestly thought that it was great value if I alone, as a single company, were to get this. To be able to provide this service for 10 to 12 businesses at roughly $4,000 a business is, I mean, for me, just a no-brainer in a way that the town can dramatically impact and support the businesses without a significant investment. One of the reasons that we're bringing it before the board and we're kind of pushing for a decision as quickly as we can is that we would like to have this program roll out before the busy start of the summer, but we need to get into the queue of when the Institute would be able to provide these services. So if we are able to approve this today, we would be able to get this done in the April-May timeframe next year, with the notion that a lot of small businesses are just too stretched once it comes to June to be able to participate in something like this. Orion, you want to fill in some gaps?
Absolutely. And there's not many. Barrett, you did a great job. Thank you very much for that. The only thing to start off with is like, why kind of did this come to the surface? So the Penobscot Bay Chamber of Commerce, they closed a couple years ago and created a little bit of a void, in terms of where can businesses go to help grow, kind of find some issues. And sorry, I'm stuttering a little bit. I'm staring right at myself. So Jeff, I don't know if you can change that camera a little bit. I'm just talking to myself right now, and it's a little off-putting. But so with the Penn Chamber closure, the Economic Development Committee was kind of wondering if there's a way they can partner with like other economic development committees in the area to see if there's something that exists. And then we were approached by the Institute and John Beeman came with me, or I guess I wrote it down to the Institute to listen to some of their programs and learn a little bit more about this program, and wanted to bring it to the Economic Development Committee's attention as an opportunity. So we asked the Ruhr Institute a number of questions just to kind of vet it a little bit further because it is kind of new. And then they answered those questions, and then we invited the Ruhr Institute's director to come meet with the Economic Development Committee. They remoted in to that meeting. It was a very good meeting. They answered a variety of different questions from the committee, and the whole committee felt this is a great opportunity for the town of Rockport. The funding aspect of it, on the other end, is the only other item that I could talk about. And John, I don't know if now's the time to talk about that, or if you want to talk about that at a little point. Do you have a preference?
Which John?
Which
yeah, John?
Sorry, Duke, my boss.
That John.
Go for it. Fire away.
Okay, so how to fund it. So initially, when this came up, I was trying to partner with another municipality due to the extensive cost of it. And we were also trying to come in with the Economic Development Committee, and I thought, a business needs to have some stake in the game. It can't just be. So we kind of concocted an idea of a fee-based system that's slightly subsidized by municipal budget. So my budget included some of this, and the assumption was that the town of Camden could also do this as well. Some issues came up over there. Jeremy cut that out of the budget, and he couldn't pursue that. But I have a portion of it in my budget. I don't have the rest of it. And so I brought that to the Ruhr's attention, and they said, first off, we can't do it under the structure and how we were kind of pursuing it, which is having a business partially funded. They're not interested in it. They didn't find it in their initial stages as something that would be productive. So they've opted to only have the municipality pay for it, and then work with the municipality to select businesses that would be a part of this program. So the portion that I have in the budget is only $10,000. So the TIF districts that we do have they're well suited for economic development items. There's no amendments that are needed. They're flush with cash, and it wouldn't damage the fifth district at all. So the recommendation on where to fund it would be from the fifth district. So it's not going to impact the municipal budget in any way. We can act on it right now, and the select board can make a decision.
So,
That's really the only items that I would add on top of what Barrett has already said, which is phenomenal to hear him say.
so John, and Ryan, just to restate that, because it didn't come quite through the Zoom connection.
Oh, sorry.
We're getting 100% of the money from our TIF fund. And the TIF fund has upwards of how much, well, generally speaking, what's the ballpark of what we have available in TIF?
From last year's report, the three TIF districts that we have currently, they generate about $500,000 a year collectively. So each year, there's plenty of money to do something of this nature. Right now, what, 2 point something, close around that number is?
That's right.
Around 2 million is what's in the total fund of TIF districts out of the three.
You have to identify which of the three or how you would break it up among the three, but.
Well,
Right,
you can pull it from any one of the
Right,
three.
you could pull it from any of them,
Yeah.
right. I'm just.
So I guess the point I want to just stress is it will not impact the budget, it will not involve any tax dollars. It's going to 100% come from the TIF fund.
Right.
It will not impact the municipal budget that was approved. Correct.
And I would just add, while I got the microphone, that I think this is a huge opportunity as well. The Rue Institute is highly regarded, has a great track record in this area. I think Barrett said it really well. The only thing I wanted to add is I second everything you said. I think it's absolutely a no-brainer. So, especially when it doesn't cost any, it doesn't impact the budget.
So any questions for Ryan?
I just want to hear what the process is for what the 10 to 12 businesses.
How they're selected.
Yeah, how they're
Say that one more
selected.
time?
The process of selecting the 10 to 12 businesses.
Yeah, so that was another concern. I think we just randomly selected, and the Rue Institute has a thorough process and how they would kind of get the word out there. So they do a big marketing approach to kind of gauge who would be interested. And then there's an application process. And then they wouldn't be the sole decider. The town also works with the Rue Institute on deciding who's going to be part of that program.
And that would be your replacement that would help with that?
I would
John?
be helping with it, depending on the timing of it all. So I would help with it, the Economic Development Committee would help with it, and then potentially my replacement or John. So John's going to make the determination on which head figure is going to be in that role. And then I would like the Economic Development Committee to be a part of that as well, but that's just my wish.
What Orion doesn't know is that his replacement is later on in the agenda, so, not that we're rushing it out,
So
you're
it's
pushing
all
you out the
happening in
door,
one
buddy,
night.
but just so you know.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Anything else for Orion or Barrett or, and I want to just announce, I won't be voting on this. My son works at the Rue Institute and he's not in this particular program, but related enough. I just want to make it clear. So do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we, is it in here, John?
Yep.
I move to approve the small business development agreement with the Rue Institute as presented.
I second.
Any
All those in-
discussion?
Any discussion? All those in favor? And I'll abstain. 4-0.
I just have one question, and this is for John. So John, that covers the ability to use it from the TIF district?
Oh, we probably need.
It should specify, yeah, so,
Yeah.
So we-
if you could friendly amend to.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'll make a friendly amendment to have it read, move to approve the small business development agreement with the Rue Institute as presented, with the funding being drawn from our three TIF funds.
Okay.
Need a second on that.
And that's a
I'll second
John.
that.
That's good. Then
Yeah,
we can
thank
keep
you.
the same motion and second. Again, I'll abstain, voting 4, and 1 abstention. Okay, great. Well, this is exciting, and I
Thank you.
think those of us who are listening to this now, I mean, a big part of, with Samantha's question is, it's in our interest too to get the word out. You know, we want as many businesses to apply so that the RU and the EDC can really work to find those businesses who will benefit most from this program.
And some of the businesses that can apply, Ryan, correct me if I'm wrong, they can be in a startup phase, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so they don't necessarily have to be established in ongoing businesses.
And that was something that the director of the RU Institute for this program mentioned, that some businesses in the community didn't even know, that the town or the city didn't even know existed until this came about, because it's a small business in the garage trying to, you know, knock out some of the cobwebs to grow and turn into something nice for the community. So, yeah.
All right, thanks, Orion, for bringing that to us, and Barrett, thank you for your presentation and support.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have the November 2026 warrant article order. And that's one of those amendments that happened today.
Yes. So this is typical. At this time, before Election Day, several years ago, there was a change in law that basically backed up the time upon which towns have to set their intent to create a question, not to actually set their warrant, but to set the intent of a question, which then gives the clerks the time to create ballots or create articles from which a ballot's created. There's nothing in this list that is, you know, holds you to specifically the language that's here. They're meant to be broad, they're meant to be, you know, far-reaching, and to provide time for the details to be worked out. And for example, this first one here, amendments of the land use ordinance in accordance with the comprehensive plan for Class 2 housing workshops to alleviate identified burdens on developers bringing in workforce housing, such as an increase in building height limit, parking requirements, and rental housing properties registration. That's a pretty broad, a number of different areas hit in that. It could take the form of one question, could take the form of a couple questions. But the point in this conversation is not to limit that or to be too specific in the board's consideration. It's merely just to start the ball rolling, from which at your meeting in September, you will vote to finalize the warrant, which does set the ballot for November. But the work now allows the clerks and everyone to get the ball rolling in that process. So there's 3 items on here: amendments to a land use ordinance, amendments to the subdivision ordinance, and this third ballot change, which was amendments to the municipal road acceptance ordinance. Now you have a discussion item later on in your agenda to cover that. There also was a sense that at some point the application for Hawthorne Drive and Bayberry would also be in this. That's subsequently been withheld, and I'm gonna this is the point where I'm gonna stop talking a little bit and just say, I also have a conflict in this matter because I live on Hawthorne Drive, oh, by the way. And so I need to be very careful, and I don't want to be involved in any of this conversation. Obviously, I'm glad to help and prepare this. Orion's on the page, and he can answer your questions. Luckily, all 3 of these items are items that Orion can handle and would handle. But other than that, I'm going to listen to the music and the dancing above and just push back the table. So, go for it.
I know this isn't about the road acceptance, it's about the amendments to the land use ordinance. I know Jeff Leclerc is here, and he may want to offer some comment on that. Is this the place where we would?
Yeah, we can do that. Maybe I'll just comment on the amendment.
Okay, go ahead.
That when we looked at the road acceptance policy, and this, by the way, was something that was in our goals for last year, is to look into this because of the potential budgetary impacts of this. But when we looked at our current road acceptance ordinance, it requires an application to be submitted 4 months before the next ballot. So this application is submitted too late. I mean, the 4 months has already passed, so that can't be on our November ballot. Obviously, it could well be on the June ballot, but so that's why that changed, and it's an opportunity for us to consider our road acceptance ordinance. And we can begin the discussion tonight. I think we'll quickly realize that there's more information we need and guidance we need to really have a discussion of that. But, so, go ahead, John, if you want to.
Well, I know Jeff wants to speak a little bit about some of the amendments to the ordinance.
Okay.
I think that's why you're here, Jeff?
Well, I'm here to answer questions, but I can also just update you on what the planning board is doing in regards to ordinance amendments and our workshops that we hosted as joint workshops with the Economic Development Committee and the Select Board. So again, I'm Jeff Leclerc, Planning Board Chair. So we've hosted 2 formal workshops apart from our monthly business to look at specifically what was in the comprehensive plan in regard to housing, so increasing the access to housing, to available housing. I think from 400 feet right now, we've tackled the low-hanging fruit, as one person called it, which is adjusting dimensional standards for items such as building height. I think actually last year, the voters approved some of our larger dimensional standard adjustments, so those should actually bear fruit soon in terms of lot size reductions and setback reductions. Another one was parking minimums, which we're kind of addressing in a very minute way. So just to update you, parking right now is sort of going out of style in terms of regulating minimums. And a lot of developers are saying, you know, we have knowledge of what we need to achieve our goals in our development, of how many parking spaces we should be providing. And there's actually ample evidence these days that we're specifying too much parking, maybe not in Rockport, but sort of countrywide, too much parking for what's needed, which is, you know, not good for our, you know, increasing the amount of impermeable surface area in the lots and many other reasons. We're just recommending an adjustment of changing the word minimum to recommended minimum. So it's basically, here's our chart of number of parking spaces you need for each type of use, and we're saying it's not a minimum requirement, it's a minimum recommendation. We didn't want to toss all that information of like, what's the right number? The planning board needs to look at it with some kind of information as well. If we threw the whole thing out, then we'd be like, well, what is the right number? We don't know. So it's nice to have it in there. So that's a small thing. There have been other notions that we've been talking about. I think will take a lot longer. Items such as pre-approved housing plans is something that is sort of a pioneer spirit. I don't know if it's an ordinance change at all. It's more of an initiative. So that's something we've been workshopping, and I think we've been looking at also the regionalization task force and what kind of ideas will come out of that when we've got a larger catchment area that we're working with. We're balancing that with a life safety adjustment to make sure there's not a hole in our ordinance. Right now, there's a life safety requirement. Well, there's life safety requirements for all buildings. Right now, our life safety inspections follow the permitting process. So if you were to build a new house or any new structure, it would need a certificate of occupancy, which means it would be inspected by the code enforcement officer. There is also, if something changes use, there needs to be a certificate of occupancy or a review of its use. Right now, for rental housing, there is no life safety inspection or ability for the code enforcement officer to look at that. So we're just trying to fill that in with a life safety ordinance. Orion, are there things I'm forgetting? I don't have any notes in front of me right now.
No, you've covered it all. And again, at the next meeting, the select board will have the packet with all the proposed language. So,
Yeah, the only other thing I would chime in on, Jeff, is what you're talking about with the parking situation is the developers we've talked to are encouraging us to let the requirement be market-driven. In other words, say you're putting in a 24-unit rental property, you know, they're going to put in as many parking spaces as they need in order to rent it. They're not going to put in, too few and have all their residents be complaining about not having parking, because then they're going to lose residents. So it's actually I think a much more realistic way to come at that figure, to have a recommendation than a requirement.
It'll still be, the code enforcement officer and the planning board still have some authority to say, you have not provided enough parking for something that really needs it. But we're taking away the sort of minimum that the planning board has to be held to. That's all.
Yeah.
There also can be, workforce, we have a lot of workforce that don't have cars, and there's practical reasons why some workforce housing actually doesn't need a lot of parking. And to create a situation where that's, red tape they can't get through is silly, because we have to be practical about it. So I appreciate that.
Two of the developers we've spoken to recently have said that very thing.
Yep.
And just so everyone's aware, tonight, we would just vote on these general topics. We'll actually have the warrant article language in front of us at our September meeting.
Yeah.
And if something's not quite ready for prime time review at that point, we can pull it too. We're not obligated to keep all of this.
Correct.
But it's really helpful to have the information and the detail, so thanks.
Thank you.
Can I make one other comment or question, or I guess it's just because I'm here, you're here. In terms of the workforce without cars, is I think this is just a general statement of keeping in mind how safe it is for people to get from these proposed housing to their places of work. I don't know if it's just me, but I feel like I see a lot of people on Route 1 walking these days, and I appreciate the sidewalks that go to Hannaford, but it just makes me so nervous. And so just as a general planning and town to keep that in mind of how many people do not drive, because I bet everyone in this room does drive, but there are a lot of people that don't.
A regionalization transportation initiative was also something that, I don't know if it's in the planning board's bailiwick or not, probably isn't, but was something that's come up in terms of concerns of residents around these new developments, saying that, well, every person that lives there is going to be connected to a car, which is a trip, and it's going to increase the number of traffic trips on my road. If we had some kind of transportation infrastructure, even a bare minimum one, transport, it would alleviate some of that.
Yeah.
Bigger issue, but I just feel like it's a good moment to stamp that.
And we can talk, we don't need to talk tonight about the new trail coming, from 90 and 1 going out to the high school, so at least we'll have the start of some better pedestrian avenues or bike avenues.
Yeah.
Great. Thanks, Jeff. Any other comments or discussion on the proposed warrant articles? So we've got this one that Jeff just described. We've got the amendment of the subdivision ordinance for cleanup related items. And then this last one, which we'll talk about later in this meeting, which would be amendments of the municipal road acceptance ordinance. And that one, we'll just see where we are by September. If it's ready to put on the ballot, we'll do it, but we've got some latitude there.
You want a motion?
Yes.
I move to approve ordering the town clerk to generate ballot questions referenced from the town manager's memo as,
What do you call this one?
I guess, amended.
Yeah, that's amended.
It's amended, okay. And
The
Linda's a second.
the town manager's revised memo.
There we go. Perfect.
Revised
As
memo.
presented.
Second.
Great. Linda the second. All those, any further discussion? All those in favor? 5-0. Great. Okay. Next is the confirming appointment. You want to?
Yeah, so the part of the process of hiring staff falls solely to the town manager. Obviously within the budget and everything that goes with that we all have, the town votes and approves. But the unique circumstance comes when a department head position opens up. And in those rare instances, thankfully, That's a job that the select board has by charter, the responsibility to confirm appointments as department heads. We are, as a lot of comments been made about how sad we are to see Orion go, even if his face is literally right in front of us right now. And Orion has done great work here in Rockport. But I'm pleased to bring forward to the board the name of Shanley Neely as our next Director of Planning and Community Development. Shanley is currently the planner for the town of Camden, but before that, she worked for us as the planning and codes clerk. She was really the first clerk that was hired when Orion came on board full-time with us and was no longer a contractor. And so Orion and Shanley have worked together before, and though in a different capacity, I would like to look forward to them working together, again, in a very different capacity. Shanley has a wealth of experience, both in Maine and then in the state of Florida, where she grew up. She's worked at the municipal levels and the county levels in the state of Florida, and then, of course, both here and in the town of Camden in their planning departments. She's got a wealth of experience working with developers, working with landowners, and she's someone who I think, and Linda was a part of staff at that point, but she was such a great member of the culture of that office and making it a really positive, welcoming place for not just those of us who work there, but more importantly for the people who come in the door, and really treated every resident like gold. And you know, this is a difficult position. Orion can speak to it firsthand. So a lot of times you have to speak to things that will make people unhappy, but the policies are important. And I think Shanley has a different style than Orion does, for sure, but her experience, her knowledge, her education and training present herself well to be able to take sort of the handbook that has been written over the last few years and take it to new heights, and work with our task forces, work with our committees. We've just seen tonight a couple of those efforts that started in very small nuggets in committee meetings or in task forces or even on this group or in the budget, and over time they grow and develop and become things that really make positive change in Rockport. I just got an email from Senator Collins' staff looking for a comment as the VPI project, which is a $7 million earmark that effectively that the town of Rockport's looking for to make a lot of changes up and down all the way from Hughes Street all the way to Pascal Avenue. That's something that is moving through Congress and seems to be getting some steam. Today, I received 2 emails complaining about sidewalks and the inability to get across Pascal Avenue. These are the types of projects that started on a very small level with a kernel of something. Orion shepherded through, and now we're at a point where we could really make some real headway here in the next few years if these things can come to fruition. And I really think Shanley Neely is going to be an outstanding addition for us and really help to carry us over the finish line with so many projects. And I'll also add this. I don't think it hurts to have someone who's been working in the town of Camden at a time when we're trying to work with the town of Camden a lot. So I see as I described to the board, as a shorthand. You know, the ability to get to the project and not have to get through a lot of red tape. This is also, we've done a lot of projects. We have the energy coaching grant, which is one that Orion worked on last spring, fall. We're very successful with working with Camden Can and our Conservation Commission. But these are the types of things that we can do. And I'm just really excited. And I think Shanley is just going to be an absolute dynamite addition to our staff and as a department head, helping the board, committees like Jeff's, and really helping us all as we, start to evolve and move into this era here of 2026, 27, and trying to deal with all these challenges. The housing workshop left a big mark on any of us who was there. So, and there's more challenges than that. So, anyway, I would ask that you approve Shenley's appointment and confirm that.
Okay, and so is it a motion to approve the appointment of
Yep.
Shenley as our
Yeah,
primary?
I think I think the
didn't see
motion.
I didn't see
Yeah,
the motion.
there was one in there.
Was there one?
I gotta go
Okay.
back and find it. Because the new one was
Oh,
like,
Linda's got it right here.
okay.
Or, well, yeah.
I move to confirm the appointment of Shenley Neely as Director of Planning and Community Development effective September 7th, 2026.
Okay,
Second.
and Linda second, great. Any further discussion?
The only discussion I have is this is a weird confirm.
Mhm.
It's not, and it's a weird part of the charter that,
Mhm.
it's like we don't really have the authority to not
Right.
confirm it.
Right.
And confirm is not approving it.
No.
It's just rubber stamping,
Yeah.
At least we're aware that there's a
And
new person.
you've already made the offer and she's already accepted and,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
Just want to put that out there.
It's weird. I grant you all of these things. Yeah.
It's a
I
very
know.
odd piece of our charter.
No doubt. Yeah.
All right, just so we're
I'm with
clear
you.
on that. yeah.
And I should say, John and Bilbo were part of the hiring process. They were participating in our interviews, and thanks to John and Bill for taking some time in the middle of a day and talk to planners. That you should get double pay for that. So let's see what we can do on that. Ryan, you laughed a little too
That was a
hard
good
about
laugh.
that.
Okay, all those in favor? 5-0. Well, that's wonderful to have Shenley coming back.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's it for our action items, and now we'll move on to discussion items. The first one is our select board goals. We talked about those at our last meeting, and each of us, I think, each of the board members had different goal ideas and sort of built on each other. And I just had said at the end of that discussion, I would take a first cut at putting all of those into a draft that we could then review and sort of discuss more tonight, decide if we're liking where we are on that. There also, in a document we're looking at, there are some town manager goals that John put forth to us. And I think, obviously, the town manager and the select board don't really operate independently of each other. So there's John's goals, and our first goal is to support the town manager's goals. And then we go into some other goals that are not in the town manager's goals. And for the select board goals, I think as we discussed last month, we've got, in some of the goals that are here, we've got, sort of more details of what we'd like to do within that goal, but really they're part of forming up our agendas for this upcoming year, so that each of these goals might be the topic of a different select board meeting. We'd get staff input, we'd get other information, so that as we are working on these goals, we're actually more informed on where we want to go with the goals and how we can actually make a difference in the town with those goals. So just as by way of background, I don't know if it's helpful to, I don't know that there's anything now, John. I'm thinking of your goals and whether I should read those. How do we want to, I think we're all familiar with John's goals. We've seen those and know. So I guess I just receive input and discussion from the board on what you think of our, the draft. Well, why don't
I think read them so that.
yeah, so everybody knows what
so
we're talking
people
about.
listening know what
'cause,
we're talking about.
Yeah, it seems like a little abstract to just be talking goals. So the town manager goals, first is to work on professional development and training using the resources available. There are several conferences happening where it would be an opportunity for our town manager to talk with other town managers and sort of and be trained and get understand what's happening in the world of town government these days, how to be a better town manager for us. Budget improvement, expand use of the visual budget, which is something that John and Megan had worked on right after our budget season this year. Develop meaningful performance metrics for departments. That was something that came out of our budget committee discussions. develop a model for long-range budget forecasting, finalize, so those are all under the heading of budget improvement. Then finalize Rockland wastewater treatment contract. That's actually in the works, and maybe even in a couple weeks we'll see something on that, so maybe in time for our September meeting. Next is complete 2 planned stream crossings for the summer and fall of 2026, and plan for 3 in the summer of 2027. Next is oversee construction startup of Rockport Common Park, which John mentioned earlier, and that takes a lot of our town managers' time to oversee the work that's happening on town-owned land. Next is work with Maine DOT to finalize the Goose River Bridge planning and staging. So we understand from DOT that the Goose River Bridge will not be replaced this year, but there's a lot of preparatory work, as well as getting the sewer line that runs alongside the bridge, getting that rerouted, assuming we get one of the grants that we've applied for to do that work. Next is work with citizens interested in supporting Opera House to develop a fundraising plan for renovations that minimizes impact on town taxpayers. And that's something we had discussed earlier in June, when we had to make some decisions about spending money at the Opera House, and the recognition of the sort of competing interests here, and the desire to retain and maintain a piece of the town's history, but also look for ways to either form some sort of a foundation and find donations to help pay for the costs of it, so that it's not all completely on the backs of the taxpayers. So that's something important, and as a town manager goal. Then the select board goals, and this is the summary from our meeting in July. The first one would be to make fire, EMS, and police more efficient, considering both budget and public safety aspects. Number 1 on there is explore regional collaboration. Now the police agreement tonight was fortuitous on that, but there's obviously way more to do on that. And there was a suggestion by John Veman that we have some actual dates and targets. So this one would be to have a multi-town meeting by February 15, 2027. So the idea would be to meet with Camden, maybe Rockland, whatever towns we think are appropriate. But again, this could be the topic of a select board meeting, and we can put a lot more meat on the bones of that, large topic, which is how do we make our public safety services more efficient for our taxpayers. Next is the regionalization task force. We talked about that earlier tonight with Joe Moore's application. We have approved a regionalization task force. We have a member, but we now want to fully engage. We want membership, recruit and appoint members to begin the process, create a list of current regional collaborations. Next is improve select board communication with public. And there were a lot of ideas on this score. And again, none of these is, just because there's some detail here, doesn't mean that's the end of the analysis or discussion. Improve, one would be to survey residents on town priorities. What do our residents want us to be doing? What do they want us to be spending taxpayer money on?
So Denise?
Yes.
Can I interrupt?
Sure.
So since the next one is to host a community meeting by March 1st, to discuss the results of the survey, I think we should add in there something to the effect of complete the survey by the first of the year.
Okay.
Just to
Yeah.
go back to my
Say
put a
by
da-
January
put a
1.
date on everything.
Yep. So survey
Theme
residents on town priorities by January 1, 2027, and then that gives time to assess the survey results, and then we would have that meeting by March 1. Communicate select board role and duties to residents. On the select board website page, include a short summary of the role of the select board in town government. A lot of our residents, when I would campaign and knock on the door, I'd even have a question like, what's a select board? So there's some more sort of information and communication we can do. Keep the website updated. Ensure time-critical information is on the front page. When you pull up the town website, if we have a meeting that night, that should be right there so that people know about it. Ensure, well, this year we had a very good select board candidate forum before the election, and I think a lot of residents really appreciated that, the opportunity to hear from the candidates. We haven't done that every year, and the notion here is that we would make that a routine part of our select board election process. Encourage attendance and participation in select board meetings. Use Civic Alert. People, now they get notices of road closures, they get notices of the planning board meetings. They should get notices of select board meetings. Use our website for that. You know, many of us have seen a lot of other small towns who have an electronic signboard out in front of their town office, and it says select board meeting tonight, 6 p.m. We should look into that kind of thing. The Opera House has those sandwich boards. That could be put out like the library does when there's an event coming up. We could have the select board meeting. So other means to make sure the public is aware we're having these select board meetings and encourage them to attend and participate. And have a public meeting at least 1 month before the town meeting vote so that we can explain and allow discussion of the warrant articles that are on that ballot. We put this a couple places, but serve food to increase attendance. After that, sort of overall umbrella, improve select board communication with public. Next is to engage the wastewater task force in development of a wastewater strategic management plan. Begin this in the third quarter of fiscal year 2027, finalize it by June 30, 2027. Plan to consider treatment options, expansion, and regionalization. Those are really all important aspects of our wastewater management in the town of Rockport. Next is explore use of columbarium reserve funds to clean and maintain gravestones, evaluate legal requirements and timing, and other grant opportunities. So it's doing a better job of maintaining our cemeteries, but again, with the notion of trying to not put the entire burden on our taxpayers. There are cemetery funds that could be used for that. Next is create a housing plan task force to develop a housing strategic plan by June 1, 2027. And last, encourage modernization of town government processes, explore use of AI, use of software and other technology to save time and staff resources. So let the discussion begin.
So just by kind of the background on this, Denise, this isn't the first time we've discussed this or seen lists of goals. We've had multiple meetings and discussions and various levels. So by now, I think everybody here is pretty familiar with the goals that are on this paper. Mm-hmm. And just want everybody to know that. So it's not like we've just come up with the list and put it out here.
Yeah, this is, a lot of it came out of our earlier meeting and probably prior discussions through the budget process, et cetera. Yeah.
Yep.
I'm wondering if we can kind of, looking at these goals, maybe not every meeting, but maybe every other meeting, kind of re-look at them. Mm-hmm. And instead of saying what we've done, maybe like make a commitment for what we're going to do.
Okay.
So I will just say right now, like I would like to make a commitment to meet with Jason Peasley. I'd like to meet with Jason if you're listening.
Probably.
Probably. And perhaps the police chiefs for both towns, and to just start that discussion. And that's just my way, because I, was one of the people that have suggested that goal. So I think it'd be good to kind of refresh our memory of looking at these goals every other meeting or something, and just, instead of just saying what we've done, say what we're going to do. Mm-hmm. Just an idea.
Yeah, and that goal particularly is a very broad-ranging goal, and it seems to me it would really benefit from a discussion at a meeting of more details along the lines of what you just suggested.
Yeah. You got to just start is like the hardest part of any of these goals. Just starting with any of these is really a big part. So
yeah, great.
So Denise, do we want to have an opportunity here to ask for public comment?
Why not? We've got the public here.
It's a good chance. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
If anybody wants to.
If anybody would like to make any public comments on this. Okay, come on up to the microphone.
Thank thank you again. I was listening. I know you guys think I wasn't, but I think it's great. You know, you had the 2 chiefs here earlier. Get 2 more chiefs in here and talk a little bit more. I think it's a great opportunity, you know. Something as simple as buying sand was mentioned last time. It's a great opportunity. So I support it, very much so. Thanks for the opportunity.
Thanks, Rick. All right. I don't think do we formally adopt these then? This is listed as a discussion item.
Yeah.
And I
There's
don't
no
think,
action on it,
I
right?
don't think there's any need for an
No.
action as long as
No, I
they're
think
public and publicly available for
Yeah,
people.
we
and
put
that's
them
what
on
we
the
want.
Yeah, I would
website
like it
and-
to be publicly available.
That's what I was
Yeah.
thinking, yeah, put
Yeah.
on the
Put them on the
board's
website. And then we can talk about, like, at our next meeting, is there, you know, if you start looking at what the deadlines, you know, is there, where would we, what do we start with? I mean, we should take one of these topics and make it an agenda item for next month. Does that make sense? I guess I'd sort of opt for the improved select board communication with public. We have a lot of that in here, and it'd be nice to get some of that implemented and happening. And there's no reason some of it can't already happen. For instance, using Civic Alert and making sure the website. But anyway, does that make sense? Okay. So we'll have that on the September agenda. Great, and there's no, just because that's on the September agenda doesn't mean we can't have updates. You know, some of these things like the Rockland ILA, that's going to be, hopefully we'll have that to report on. So all of these can sort of be in process, but it's also helpful to, I think, have us understand them better and pursue it more. All right. Should we move on to municipal road acceptance ordinance? And this, I know in the packet, is the current municipal road acceptance ordinance. And this is something that we had, was it last year, 2 years ago, we had a subdivision that came forward with. 2 years ago?
It was 2.
Yeah, and 2. So they had been apparently promised that the town would accept their roads if they met certain requirements. And we vetted that through the road acceptance ordinance, but it all happened fairly quickly, and there wasn't a lot of chance to sort of get your head around what the right approach would be or how to do this. And we ended up recommending approval. The voters all have to vote on it. But it became clear when you go through a budget process, one of the biggest issues for Rockport is we have 72 miles of road to pave, to plow, to maintain. It's bigger than almost any other town in the area. So when we talk about a road acceptance policy, you're basically adding to that mileage. And it's something we just need to fully consider. And that's sort of the point of this sort of discussion is sort of with full awareness of what we're doing. And there's pros and cons. You know, there's a budgetary impact. We've heard from some people, well, you'll never get new housing if you're not willing to accept the roads. And I don't know if that's true or not, but that's, a competing consideration because housing is important in Rockport. And I skimmed the road acceptance ordinance, but didn't spend a lot of time looking through it in detail. It looks like you get input from you get the budget committee input, you get public works. But I feel like in order for us to meaningfully discuss how to move forward on something like this, it seems like we need to understand what the costs are. Like, what does it cost to plow a road mile? What does it cost to pave a road mile? In a situation where you have a subdivision that's got a private road and wants us to accept it as a public road, you're not going to get any additional tax revenue. You're just going to have additional costs. And I think we have to weigh that. So I don't know if others have thoughts on this.
I have a lot of thoughts.
Oh, go John.
But I agree, Denise. I think one of the first questions I have in something like this is what do we as a town get out of accepting a road. I'm not suggesting that we don't get anything out of it, I just would like
Right.
to have a,
Make sure we
more,
understand.
visible conversation about that before we take on the responsibilities, additional responsibilities, because as you said, we've already got 72 miles to maintain. You're poking around the edges on, creating some kind of return on investment formula. And, and there's ways to do that, to create a formula to start to give a value to certain aspects to taking a road on. I'm not suggesting that I know exactly what those are, but they're, getting Megan to sit down and looking at other municipalities. We're not the first town
I know,
to
I
have
would
this
like to know what
question.
other towns are doing on this
Yeah,
score, because
yeah.
it's,
There are other aspects to the current ordinance that I would love to see, that we've got some, if I can get into the nitty-gritty, or do we want to talk more generalities first? I don't know if other people have any.
yeah, if other people have generalities that they,
I have a question, and maybe Orion, you can answer this, if you've been here for this has happened, like, what is a comparable road that we can look at of something what's the most recent addition to our 72 miles? I'm just curious, so I have a reference point for what this is.
What are you
that was
looking
that
for?
subdivision 2 years
Yeah.
ago that we
Which
did off of
subdivision are we
West
talking
Street
about?
Extension.
The West
was it?
Street, okay.
It was out there somewhere.
Was it,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
And it wasn't completely developed, but it did meet the percentage rule, correct?
Correct. He meant the section 400. So section 400 isn't an issue for developers, it's section 500. That's the issue for future developers. But that municipal road acceptance proposal from 2024, they met section 400, didn't have an issue with it, everything was fine.
One more thing, just a very simple question. Do we ever take roads away?
Where would we go with them? Where would we?
You mean
Linda's
we-
nodding her head.
We'd
We
give it
have
back to
had
the people?
discontinuances of roads.
We have.
Oh,
Okay, from
Okay.
public road to private?
And they're in the town records, what roads have been discontinued.
And what happens when you discontinue them? Do they just revert back to the property owners that are
I
abutting
believe
it?
so.
Yeah, okay.
What are the ground, do you recall any of
And
the
they,
grounds for it?
and I believe they're probably not a road that's well-traveled, so, and they may have a couple of houses on it, and,
Like maybe someone's acquired
More
two
expensive.
properties and then now it's just a private.
right.
Okay. I mean,
So it didn't get developed.
yeah, so there's a process for it, I guess, is my
Yes.
question. That's good to know. So we're not just adding, occasionally we remove.
Yeah, any other general comments or thoughts, and then we can get into the weeds?
I mean, I have mixed feelings on this. If you build a road and it's private, there's the expectation that, okay, it's my expense, but then as a development gets bigger and larger and more developed, I mean, one benefit of the town having the ownership is that we have the control over how it's taken care of, how we have access to our residents in that area, whether you're talking fire, EMS, police, school buses, that sort of thing. So it's, it's a mixed bag. I mean, there's pros and cons. You're taking on a road and adding to road miles and expenses, but at the same time, you're making sure you're providing safe access for your emergency services. So it's
Yeah, as long as it's applied evenly to
Yeah.
every circumstance.
yeah.
And I think there are requirements for the road to be, regardless of whether it's public or private, it has to meet certain standards.
Correct.
Orion, do you want to weigh in on sort of general approaches on this and?
Yes, actually. In my conversations with a few developers that wanted to come to Rockport, as they wanted to know how the town would take over the road, they didn't have an issue building it, but they had an issue with the public process. And it's not necessarily coming before somebody, it's that 4-month window. That's 4 months of the year that you're not gonna know what's gonna happen. And then you got a bank that you're gonna build it, and then it's gonna get accepted. And then that's for a developer a big risk and a maintenance issue that they just don't want to deal with. So that's been a hurdle, trying to get a developer to come in. Some have landed, and that's been fine, and they're okay with keeping it private due to the structure that they've done with their property, but it has been an issue with a couple of developers at least.
So, Ryan, I don't know if I quite heard everything you said because of the connection here, or where your microphone is, but you're saying the 4 months that's required when we get an application prior to the voters approving, everything has to go before voters, and so you're saying developers can't wait that 4 months or sometimes to get the voter approval they want?
It's actually longer than that technically, so they have to build it, 50% of it has to be built, and then 4 months before either the June or November ballot, they have to put their application in. So it's a lot of money invested for a potential that the town might take it if the select board agrees, if the budget committee agrees, and if the town agrees. So while I'm all in support, and I don't think anybody would disagree with the fiduciary responsibility of the road, that process is complicated. And then, if they just don't like that one developer, they throw a big stink, and one group says, well, we're not interested. Well, we just lost an opportunity. And then that developer who spent all this money is now trying to figure out what to do with the rest of their property.
So is it a standard in the development world that the expectation is always that a town will take it over rather than an HOA providing the plowing and road services?
It's pretty common. It's pretty common today. And talking with Phil Saucier about this ordinance in particular, and trying to come up with something, he said it is uncommon on our structure in terms of the public process. And this was from 2016. Today it's a little bit different. And similar to how we do easements, it's kind of along that line. So, there's a standard that needs to be met, and select board can then accept. And then it doesn't need to go to a town vote. Town vote scares off a lot of developers.
Oh, okay, so accepting a road does not require voter approval?
It does, right?
Currently.
Currently.
Oh, okay.
Currently, it does.
But we would have
I'm
latitude
saying-
to not require town vote?
Not currently you don't. I'm saying other municipalities, it's the municipal board, so select board or council, that would accept it.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I would really like to know what other towns are doing on this, because they're basically our competition for housing developments. We don't want to be such an outlier that we're discouraging any future housing developments in Rockport. But we also don't want to be the one that always takes on these roads. I think we have a bad history with this because we had a period of time where a lot of developers were coming in and building out their subdivisions and not really building.
That's true.
They got
That's
away
true.
with some really bad roads, and they left, and
Yeah.
the town ended up having to rebuild all these roads. And
Well, yeah, in
Correct.
particular, the Bay Ridge project, I mean, Mike Young was walking me through how many culverts that he had to replace up there, and it was, it was all just poorly designed road work. Now, was that before we had the current ordinance in place, Orion, as far as the requirements
I
for
don't
road?
know when, I don't know that.
Yeah, I don't know when, it was before
it
my
was
time.
before this ordinance.
But I
'cause-
just remember it took like, I don't know, a long time, couple years probably. John, you might know, well, you can't comment on this, can you?
You can't come.
Yeah.
2007, it was originally adopted 2007, then it was amended June of 2012,
Yeah,
November
so-
2016.
I think 2016 is perhaps when the standard, because you have to have 12
Yeah,
inches
so
of
I'm sure the
base.
Bay Ridge project, development was preceded that, but,
Yeah.
but, the way I got, walked through the whole project that Mike was working on and the crew up there, it was a mess, and it was very expensive. Every time you mention culvert, from what I understand, and I'm a layperson on this, it's like tens of thousands of dollars, to
We're in the hundreds
replace
of
those.
thousands for culvert. now.
Yeah, some of them are even more than that, but these weren't that magnitude, but it was also on a very difficult terrain. It was very hilly. You got a lot of water flow coming off that hill, and so anyway, I just, yellow flags went up when I saw this, just because I had in the back of my mind how much that particular project required in terms of getting the roads fixed that we inherited. So,
But this ordinance would prevent that,
well, it does,
That's the
but
question.
it's
Yeah,
kind of
that's the
where I
question,
go
yeah.
to some of my other nits here is, like the warranty agreement says, the warranty for a period of 2 years. I don't know how many years the town had ownership of those, of some of these roads
Right.
before we find out, oh crap, whatever they put down below the surface wasn't done right.
one bad storm and.
Yeah,
yeah.
and my question would be, is 2 years enough time to see that? Some other issues I would have is,
John, so that 2 years, they have to supply it within 2 years, or it undoes everything. That performance guarantees for a longer period.
oh, it is? Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Maybe I was,
And that's common language with what's in the subdivision ordinance.
so how much time are we getting with a warranty then? Is that variable?
That's variable. And that in the subdivision ordinance defaults to the town manager for approval. So I don't know, this one's a little different, but in today's, if you were building a subdivision today and you were putting performance guarantee together, you're not gonna get that back until the town's happy with the building of the road. So today, that problem that everybody's concerned with, I don't think would be an issue with this consideration, just because this municipal road acceptance ordinance already defaults to subdivision ordinance, which the developer would have to build to those standards anyway.
Okay.
Performance guarantee says 2 years on here.
It does.
Section 601?
Yeah, I know, I wasn't quite
Right,
down
so
there.
shall provide the town of Rockport with a performance guarantee for a period of 2 years from the date of acceptance to repair.
Denise.
Oh, I see the confusion there.
Yeah.
I take that, because it's similar in
We have a
the
public
subdivision
comment.
ordinance, that you have 2 years to supply that, or there's an issue.
Okay.
That nullifies.
Yeah.
Okay.
So probably some cleanup language on when it needs to be supplied to the town.
Okay. And so I think that was one of the things I flagged, was that performance guarantee as well. Then the next 601 or .1, performance guarantee if required by the select board. To me, I'm like, why are we making it a if?
Yeah.
That seemed odd. And to me, I'm not saying that things weren't reviewed as critically in the past as they probably would today, but, it does kind of open the door for,
That's a good catch.
a casual treatment.
Agreed.
And right after that is a waiver that the select board may waive the performance guarantee, and I didn't like that either.
Yeah,
So-
if you're buddies with the,
Well, I'm not, like I said, I'm not casting aspersions, I'm just
No,
saying,
it has that potential
it
to look
opens the
that
door
way.
for it. And then backing up, the 505 review and recommendation by the select board, it's asking that they'll consider recommendations of the Public Works Director, Fire Chief, Police Chief. I would love to add Finance Director on that, even though there's a Budget Committee recommendation required in 506. Because the Budget Committee is going to have to get some numbers from somewhere. And so you really do need to involve the Finance Director, and
to
I think,
develop the fiscal impact.
yeah, to really talk about the fiscal impact and make sure we're all clear on that. And again, I'm not saying we should or shouldn't do, I'm just
No, but
saying,
we need the numbers.
as a process,
Yeah.
to really look hard at numbers when we do these kind of things. And then also, I would love to have an independent third party, an engineer of some kind who has expertise in this area as far as the construction of roads. rather than all people that are on the town payroll. I think having, if we're gonna take on a road, I mean, depending on the size of that road, that's a significant commitment, and it doesn't go away
It's all
easily.
time, yeah.
Having, maybe paying the $10,000 or whatever it takes to get,
Well, and it could be on the applicant, that's a typical thing.
Oh,
is-
yeah.
or that, but either way, I think leaving it all with our public works director, fire chief, police chief, it's all internal, and it's leaving a door open for influence here, because it's a small town.
Yeah.
That's understandable. I think well, anyway, I'm in the mindset of new roads, and I don't think there's any issue with adding finance director, spending on it, or an engineer. The new roads would be easier with an engineer's perspective on this. It's the old roads. that
Yeah,
are being-
I'm mostly focused on the existing roads
Right,
and
right,
old
right.
roads. Because that's where if it's a brand-new road, you're right, we've got plenty of safeguards now in the ordinance, through the planning board. It's pretty hard not to do it right.
I guess, is that right? So, I mean, you can know that there's 12 inches, I mean, does somebody have to go out and observe the road as it's being
Well,
built?
there'd be, well, yes, so there'd be inspections along the way, but also the engineering plans that would come along with the application. So we would know what's supposed to be there, and the inspections throughout that process to verify. And if there's an issue, we have that to fall back on.
Okay.
But again, that's today for new roads. Old roads, maybe we have those.
I did learn about an Australian ballot.
I did too, because I got never seen that language before, and I
So
quickly
weird.
Googled it, and I'm like, well, what do you know?
Yeah.
You
I
know, those
probably would
Australians can
suggest we
teach us
change it, but
something,
yeah.
yeah.
Any
Right.
other, I know we've got a public comment and want to hear that. Any
Yep.
other?
No,
discussions
those
on-
were my,
So Ryan was saying that the performance standards on here are based on new road. I mean, what is our, other than,
The performance guarantee?
well, just the standards of the roadway for an existing road.
I read this as if the town's gonna accept a road, it has to meet our subdivision ordinance standards for a road. So if it's an old road that was built before, they're gonna have to meet those standards.
Mhm.
And that takes into account, the life and safety concerns that you brought up, the turning radiuses and widths to handle our fire EMS.
Right, but if it's an existing road, who is gonna inspect it to make sure it's got the right base and
well, right now, it would
asphalt
just be the public works director.
So you'd have to do a
Right,
core
right now
or
it's just
something to
public
see that you got
structure.
12
Who-
inches of
Well,
subbase.
and that's why I wanted to,
So you said
somebody
it'd be like a
really
core or
knows what they're
something?
doing.
I'm just saying, I don't know, but in order to confirm that you've got your 12 inches of subbase and your 2 inches of topping, I don't know how you can do that without.
And
Without
then
taking a
an
sample.
external person, so it's not taking our resources to take the
Right.
time to go look
Right,
at
it
it.
could
If it's
be-
gonna fail the test,
Right.
that's a waste of our resources
Yeah.
as a town.
Correct.
So is our wording in here, does that cover that, to have,
I think we
It
should-
needs the 2-year window, we need to clean that up a little bit, just so it's a little more clear that within, and it needs to be cleared up to probably match with what the subdivision ordinance says, but
right,
prior
But-
to acceptance, a performance guarantee needs to be on record.
Right.
And
but the mechanism.
longer than 2 years.
The mechanism is in there to determine an existing road and what it's made up of, so that it meets.
I wonder if.
I
it-
believe so.
Okay.
I have one other
John.
question, Denise.
Mhm.
So Ryan, maybe this is a question for you. Does it make sense to have there's areas in here that talk about connecting road, but it doesn't really establish a limit to what the distance on a connecting road can be. And is there a way to, what's a reasonable threshold for something like that? Or is this not even worth,
Oh, man,
yeah,
that, I'm looking at the definition of it.
Yeah, I saw that as kind of a funny, like, potential workaround, like,
So
oh, look,
in,
we've got
in a,
people
in a
to-
manner accepted to the Public Works Director. So I think that right now is you're out on distance. So if it's too short or too long, the way it's currently worded, a manner acceptable to the Public Works Director.
I guess I'm trying to think about how we move through this process, and so we've got some good ideas. We could either have Orion and maybe two of us work with Orion on proposed edits to this. We could also do a workshop.
It depends. If
So
you're-
is the goal to potentially have it on this November's ballot?
Yeah, I don't feel
Okay.
the urgency to do that. I think we want to make sure we're coming to the right place on it.
Sure.
So I'm not, and if we're feeling artificially constrained by the fact that we would have to get this done by our next meeting,
Right.
I think it's a big decision. And it's well worth, there's a lot of complications, and I would like to know what other towns are doing, and I'd also like the numbers to know what it costs us
Okay.
to take care of these kinds of miles. I don't know, Orion, is that
So-
something you can dig
Yeah,
into?
I already have a folder, and I'll ask Phil if he has any updates on how municipalities are accepting roads or treating roads.
Yeah.
For at least new projects or even old subdivisions. And then I can
Right.
share that with y'all. And then in terms of the fiscal, I'll have to talk to Mike and Megan to see what they have. Are you interested in a per mile basis, or what are you thinking?
I think that's probably,
Per mile basis?
I don't know what the right metric is, but that would be helpful as a per mile.
I will do that.
Yeah, both plowing and paving, and whatever other maintenance would be required.
Okay.
But I will say, if it's a significant, I don't know how much that actually adds to it. It's great information. It's great information, but the truth is, if we have a bunch of residents that live on a new road and it meets a certain standard that we've established, then the cost doesn't really matter, quote unquote, because it's the way to get home, just like the rest of us, and we all have roads that we maintain and we complain about it hasn't been paved and this and that. So just, I'm saying that more for anyone listening.
Yeah, no,
that
I
it's,
think that's right. I
you
mean, I
know,
think that's the
You
the
just have to
competing
meet a bar.
concern.
You just have to meet a bar,
Right.
for how important it is it, and is it not just a developer trying to push this off on the town because it saves a developer money? That's, I think, maybe the elephant in the room that we're, not saying.
Right, for new developments.
For new developments, yeah.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
For new development, there's no angst on them meeting any standards. The only issue is timeline for approval in their minds. And that's the only item that I would propose that's being looked at in terms of speeding that up, just for their consideration, and make it a little more attractive for them.
I think, there's quite a few publications and discussions out there about towns and owning roads and the sort of debt that the town incurs by being obligated to address all of these roads that are within the town's purview. And it basically, most towns are essentially bankrupt if you really take seriously your paving obligations. And we see this every budget cycle, right? We're always underinvesting in our roads because we simply can't afford to really do what people tell us we need to do. And I just want to sort of keep that context. So it means that when you're considering something like a road acceptance ordinance, you just have to keep that in mind. And you don't always have a choice if you've got your existing sort of significant traffic avenues in your town. People are entitled and the taxpayers are going to pay to maintain all of that. but it is, I think, something we should at least knowingly go forward with, understanding what additional burdens we would be placing on future taxpayers.
Absolutely, absolutely. There's a couple municipalities that are looking at this, and I know John has brought this up from another MCOG meeting, but they're looking at, if you're gonna repave a specific stretch of road, how many residences are actually on there, what's the tax valuation, what's the payback on it? So it's being talked about by a few other municipalities, but it's not uncommon to probably restructure this in a way where it's more fiscally sound than the development sound. Because if you have a development that's taking the road and there's nothing wrong with $200,000 homes, but the taxes that are generated from a $200,000 home to a $500,000 home, the cost is not going to equate on the fiscal side for that road.
Right, or by the same token, the denser house, if you have a subdivision of very dense housing, that maybe paying for that public road makes sense, but if you've got 1 acre lots, that's a lot of road in between each house.
Yeah, that's exactly the formula that Orion's referring to, that I brought in from last MCOG gathering. There is a way to do the math on this. And yeah, we may find ourselves in a situation where we see a major developer opportunity, and it's targeting workforce housing.
Right.
And it could add, I don't know, 25, 50, 100 units on a big parcel of land. It just, we need to have an incentive to lock it down, and we could make a decision, or encourage to put in front of voters the decision that we help with the road, and we build the road to get in the infrastructure that they need to create all that housing. But I just like the idea of, you can do the math on that. You can say, we're going to add 50 units. It's going to be 50 units valued at average, home price of X.
Resulting in X tax revenue.
Yep. And over the lifetime of the house and over the lifetime of that road, you can just match it up, and you can see pretty clearly what the trade-offs are.
So you were talking about shorten up the window. How do we do that? Because we have to put it towards to the voters.
That's just addressing Section 500.
But we have to put it before the voters.
Currently, you would have to put this before the voters, so.
Right.
I'm saying consider an option to where the select board makes a determination, whatever form that is. I don't know if that's also a charter amendment, or if it's just.
Right, yeah, I don't know
Because
legally.
this reads as.
Yeah, I don't know the
Because right
history
now,
of
with your easements and accepting, I don't know if that's, if town manager can accept that, or if that comes to the select board for your acceptance, but similar-esque item. You're accepting land on behalf of the town, or an easement on behalf of the town. So I'm saying, my recommendation is to find a method for the select board to make the determination.
So that we
And
need
that-
to consult with our town attorney about whether we would
Correct.
have the authority to
Correct.
change the ordinance. I guess you could argue that the voters, if they approve the ordinance, then they approve letting the select board make the decision. But that
Correct.
still needs some legal review to know whether we can do that.
It does. And, everybody's concerned with the fiscal side of it all, as long as in the ordinance we have covered our fiscal responsibilities and what we're considering, we're accepting a road, shouldn't be an issue.
At least to make sure we're accepting a road that isn't in immediate need of repair.
Correct.
Right, only to that level.
Okay. Anything else among the board on this? Bob, you wanted to?
I think I've been here for 2 hours.
You're entitled to talk.
You're used to it.
A long time. My worry is that, when I was on the board over 20 years ago.
You should introduce yourself.
I'm sorry, I'm
please
Bob
do.
Duke.
Probably everyone knows you.
I'm
but-
Bob Duke, former select board member, business person. I live in Bay Ridge, the dreaded Bay Ridge. Um, Anyway, when I was on the board over 20 years ago, we had a culture of prohibition of accepting roads then. We still have today. And whatever you do, make it a path that allows the town to accept roads responsibly and not have a financial burden on the town for a number of years. That should be the tenet of whatever you guys do with that ordinance.
Yep.
The ordinance that's presently there requires the police chief, the fire chief, the public works director to all sign off to the select board before it even goes to a point of whether you recommend that the townspeople say yes or no. And of course, the budget committee have a vote too, and they get to say no or yes. And nobody wants the added cost. We get that. In my development, we just spent $50,000 on a section of our road because it degraded. And we consulted with Mike and also with Steve Beveridge on how to fix that. So there's a way of doing this. In fact, and I'm not to throw my son into the mix here, but John came before this select board back before he was a town manager here, and he appealed to the town to accept the roads. It didn't get accepted, but at that time, I think Gartley and Dorsky was involved in assessing the road to say, what condition it was in, what was the potential cost to the town. So it's very doable. This is not rocket science. So I would recommend that whatever you do, create a path. It may be a rocky path, but make it a path so that we know if we ever want to pursue this, we will. Quite honestly, it's not just about the cost of the road. I realize the town does not want to accept the cost of it, but some of this is like, I'm the president of our homeowners association, and every monthly meeting, we talk about some sort of regulatory stuff we have to do. Do we let the school buses go through? We shut the road off for any public vehicles for a number of months because it was winter time and it was going to damage the road. We'd rather not do that. Our two roads that are in question, and it's not a question now, but they're a connector between two neighborhoods, Bay Ridge, and I might add, over $100 million worth of property value. I want to stress that. Yes, you have 72 miles of road. Look at your overall assessment in this town. Okay? I know nobody wants that added cost, but those things come at a cost. And that revenue helps pay for schools and roads. So the last thing I'll leave you with is this. If you want to make a prohibitive policy or ordinance to prevent the town from taking roads on that were built to town specifications, then give us an assessment break from our property. We are assessed the same lot value as John Veman's house or Kim's house, and if you're on a public road, okay, but if you're on a private road, maybe there should be some sort of assessment credit that offsets that. Because we have to pay for the snow removal. We don't get the same benefits of somebody on a public road. So I don't know how you work that into an ordinance, but I'm just suggesting there is a path. You guys have talked about some constructive things, but the mechanics are already there. And you need to know, all right, if we accept this road, at what point in time, is it 10 years, 15 years from now, are we going to have to pay for a road rebuilding, or is it just snow removal? So, thank you.
Yep, thank you.
I like that idea of, if it stays private, and, Bob's makes a good point that, that maybe there is a way to, I don't know how you would do it, but you can come up with a value for that, for not taking on the expense, not putting that expense on the town.
Yeah.
You could, but it would be a slippery slope of other issues.
Oh, but I'm not suggesting it's
but it's
easy.
it's a really good point. It's
an interesting line of thought. And the other thing I would just add, when I say independent analysis or independent assessment, I want to make sure it's somebody that doesn't do work with the town.
Mhm.
It's got to be somebody completely independent of everybody.
And that could be difficult to find.
I know, but it's out there. You can find them, but,
Yeah.
and it's not, again, I just feel very strongly about that
Mhm.
because, it could be the money the person gets in there and loves what they're looking at for a road and
Yeah.
says, it's all good. To me, it's money well spent.
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking about next steps and how we try to keep this moving along. I'm wondering about, John, you're obviously interested in it and have given it some detailed thought. Are there other board members who'd like to work? We can have one other board member work with John on this and Orion. And I'm happy to do that, but I also, if other people want to get involved in it.
Who loves ordinances?
I love a good, especially a municipal
Put the
road.
lawyer on it.
Okay, well, maybe, John, you and I can talk with Orion a little bit about sort of getting some of the information we need so that we can at least,
Yep.
because I appreciate what Bob's saying is, know what we're trying to accomplish here. What's our message?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that was coming through at talking to a lot of the developers that spoke to the housing workshop, that
Yeah.
it's important to be clear about, what we're asking for,
Yeah.
that, it's, that they know what they're getting into when they come into Rockport, and that there aren't going to be any surprises.
Yep.
And/or risks. When they know the rules and they know the guidelines and the ordinances,
Mm-hmm.
it really takes away that risk factor for them, which is what they're really very top of mind about.
Yep, yep. We owe that to anybody coming to do business in the town and to our residents.
I just want to do a cautionary that whatever we do to the ordinance, knowing that there's an application, that we don't do something to push that application out or make it impossible for that application to go through. Like,
Right.
it's like shutting the door on the barn after the horse gets out. I don't want that to happen, but,
Yeah.
Bob makes some great points, and I think to get this straightened out, because we don't want to take on roads that don't fit, but at the same time, we have an obligation to look at it fairly for everybody.
Yeah, and I don't know how many other private road situations we have in Rockport. So that will be part of what we'll look into to make sure we're sort of
Wonder if our
looking at the
planner
full
knows.
landscape. Yeah.
Or a former planner.
Yeah.
But I believe that we do have a list of roads that have been accepted and private roads available at the town office. That will give you all that information.
Good. Great.
Yeah, that would be helpful.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that is sort of the end of our discussion items for this agenda. We would move into, next is Select Board Liaison Reports. Anybody
I have,
want to provide some?
I have none. There was no Harbor Committee meeting, and the Recreation Committee hasn't met either.
Okay.
So, mine's quick and easy.
Yep.
I've had trouble because my committees have met on scheduled work nights for me
Yeah.
at the restaurant, which in July, as you can imagine, I
Yeah,
couldn't change. So I'm making changes so that I can make it work, but I have no reports.
And anything else? Has
And
anything been
Legacy
happening?
and Conservation have not met.
Yeah. Parks Committee had a good work day over in Memorial Park, and this was a meeting, but they turned it into a work day, and they did a lot of cleanup over there. Things are looking good. That weeping willow that keeps people from walking on the sidewalk got cleared away, so at least branches of it. And then John reported on the Axiom work, so we're moving forward on fiber, and hopefully by September we'll have some big changes. Anybody else, John?
I got a few
Workshop?
things, as usual. We had our second housing workshop on the 23rd. It was preceding the planning board meeting, and I'm polishing off the notes on the workshop. Needs to have Orion, of course, review everything, and we can get those out to everybody probably within a week. Are you on vacation this week, Ryan? No.
No, I'm working.
Okay, good, then it will be within a week.
Yes.
And I'm pleased that one of the primary goals coming out of the workshops has already made it onto the select board goals. So, just kind of thought
Ask
it,
and
I
you
just
shall
had that
receive,
thought
huh?
and it
Bing,
happened.
bing,
So
yeah.
I love that.
It's amazing.
The planning board meeting that followed, there were no applications before the planning board, so they focused almost exclusively on a discussion of land use amendments, land use ordinance amendments that would support more housing within the town. And we already heard from Jeff on some of that, so I won't repeat that. The comp plan implementation task force. This month's meeting focused almost exclusively on concerns by the Pathways Committee and others over the impact of proposed and planned development near the Cross Street and Route 90 intersection. You'll recall that we've talked about it quite a few times that we've approved a 24-unit rental project over there right behind the Anchor Church, and that and the talk of 9 additional housing units coming in with the Midcoast Regional Housing Trust, and then the Montessori School now has announced it's going to be purchasing the old Anchor Church property. So that's really started to, create a lot of activity on one corner. And of course, there's Erickson Fields right across the street, and they want to build out part of the property behind the Regional Housing Trust parcel to offer a nature center and outdoor classroom. So it's really starting to become a hub of activity, but it also is saying that we may want to take a moment to think strategically about what's going to happen at that intersection. And particularly, we've got the hiking, walking,
The new trail.
new trail coming right up Route 90, and that's coming up that side of the street as well. So there's a lot going on. And a critical component involves relocating you're going to love this, John, the CMP pole, which is going to be moved and reconfigured anyway because of the Phase 3 power needs of that 24-unit project. So there is a little bit of urgency on that in the near term to reach out to CMP to say, there's a better location for that pole, given all the other things that are going on. Don't just, put a bigger pole in the same place, because it's going to bump into a lot of our plans. And it's also an aesthetic thing as well, and some of the stakeholders in the area were concerned about a big flashing light coming into their living room at night and all that sort of thing, if we have to put some kind of MDOT, caution signal there. So anyway, that was pretty much some of the task force. Their next meeting's August 24th at 9:30 right here. My last committee is the Budget Committee. And I keep hearing that there's going to be a kickoff meeting for the Budget Committee soon, but it's sounding like it's going to be in September now.
Yeah.
Is that our thought? Yeah. And presumably the committee will have identified a new chair and other officers at that time, as well as, I hope, pin down a meeting schedule for the foreseeable future, because I really feel like we're losing valuable time if the Budget Committee is really going to realize some of some of the things that it said it wanted to accomplish with changes, revisions, changes in format, all that sort of thing. So trying to make it work. That's it.
Great. Thanks, John. Come on up to the mic, Rick.
Do we have a real date, John, for Budget Committee?
I'm going to repeat it so that way they hear at home, because they couldn't hear you. But go ahead, Rick. Yeah, you.
Budget Committee's ready to meet.
Yep.
We just need direction from the town office.
Yeah, I don't know where last I heard that there was a date on the 17th, but I don't know where everyone weighed in. Rick's asking whether he was waiting for some feedback from the town office. I'd heard that there was a date of the 17th, but I hadn't heard where that landed. So I don't know if other members couldn't make it. There wasn't a quorum. I don't know.
Oh, this month?
This month, yeah.
I'm pretty sure from what I've heard through
Yeah.
the people, that they're ready to meet, but we haven't got it, and we've been waiting for Megan to tell us that. She was on vacation or something.
Yeah, last I had heard was there was a potential date of the 17th, and that was the last I had heard of where that stands. So I'll ask Megan tomorrow. I'm not sure.
Thank
Okay. Anything else? I might be ready for a motion to adjourn.
I'm good.
So moved.
So moved. Thank you. Jim, second. All those in favor? Great. Thanks for everyone who's still here with us.
All those teachers didn't tell you not to run through? I mean.
What's that?
Not through the Cypress.